an accidental fall is going to be hard to defend, given the height of the windowsill. So that's why there's an investigation for more suspect, and you're more suspicious death. Yeah.
On our last Justice Night Extravaganza episode, we are in some ways going back to the beginning of the month, where we covered Anatomy of a Murder, the 1959 Otto Preminger procedural trial film. Tonight we're talking about writer-director Justine Triet's Anatomy of a Fall, the 2023 French legal drama named for Anatomy of a Murder.
The title of the film refers to a pretty well-known courtroom movie too.
Of course, yes.
So that was something you were working with, and
yes, that movie is very important for me.
Talking about the Preminger film, of course, Anatomy of a Murder. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. From Preminger, of course. I saw that movie 10 years ago, I think, and I'm very impressed by that movie because, of course, it's so modern the way they are playing in the courtroom, you know. And it was, of course, not a model, a pattern for us. Yes.
Triet wrote the screenplay with her partner Arthur Harari, inspired by Triet's fascination by the Amanda Knox case, where a young American woman living in Italy was accused of murdering her roommate. The murder trial seemed like a perfect vehicle to be able to dissect and study every aspect of a relationship, cohabitation, and the reciprocity between a husband and a wife.
I mean, sometimes a couple is kind of a chaos, and everybody is lost, no? And sometimes we fight together, and sometimes we fight alone, and sometimes we fight against each other. That happens.
Triet was interested in the changing roles between men and women. In Anatomy of a Fall, Sandra Hüller plays Sandra, who lives with her husband Samuel and her blind son Daniel, and his seeing eye dog Snoop. In Samuel's hometown, an isolated chalet close to Grenoble. Sandra is a successful writer, and her husband is a professor who hates teaching and wants to be a writer. They resent each other. Sandra doesn't speak much French and prefers everyone speak English rather than her native German, and her husband can't get it together to write.
You're not sacrificing yourself, as you say. You choose to sit on the sidelines because you're afraid. Because your pride makes your head explode before you can even come up with the little sham of an idea.
Daniel's blindness a few years earlier came from an accident when Samuel couldn't pick him up from school on time. After a tumultuous scene where Sandra has a cute young woman come to the house to interview her, and Samuel turns up the music louder and louder upstairs, Daniel finds Samuel dead in the snow by the house with blood around him. This sets up the murder trial as a vehicle to dissect the relationship and resentments and emotional turmoil, as Sandra must fight against charges that she murdered her husband. She hires an old friend from college, Vincent, played by Swan Arlo, as her defense lawyer. It's a perfect setting to express that although we live in a changing time where women can be the main breadwinner and men can be the caretaker, in a murder trial, the prosecutor, played by Antoine Reynard, races for the same sexist themes as a movie as old as Anatomy of a Murder when trying to come up with a scenario that would lead Sandra to murder her husband, imputing her bisexuality, her husband's feeling of impotence, dissecting events that led to Daniel's blindness.
Vous saviez que Sandra, comme vous l'appelez, était bisexuelle?
Non.
Et vous l'avez perçue sur le moment?
Non.
Et en réécoutant l'enregistrement, est-ce que vous diriez que, ou avec le recul, il y avait un jeu de séduction de sa part?
Well, Vincent has to paint certain pictures to make it look like suicide or an accident. Like Sandra says in this movie, if you take a little piece of reality, is it really who you are? There are multiple ways to view each detail brought up in the murder trial and multiple perspectives on which to base your conclusions.
If I'd been seeing a therapist, he could stand here too and say very ugly things about Samuel, but would those things be true?
Stories are a big part of this film. The stories Sandra sells to make a living, which borrow from her life to her detriment when she's on trial for murder. The stories her husband and her must tell each other to keep moving forward, and the stories that the lawyers must tell the jury to make the story make sense in court. Parts may be real, individual facts may be true, but is that the truth? We are complicated beings, and any of us put on trial and reduced to these one-dimensional characters would object because it isn't the whole truth.
Don't deny it.
Once, and you cling to it in order to
You have
suffer.
fucked other people
You do this all
several
the time.
times.
You make yourself the victim.
I'm not a victim. I'm a man who's been cheated on, plundered and cheated on.